Elon Musk. Mr. Musk is a wealthy internet entrepreneur who has vowed to revolutionize space exploration by bringing down the astronomical costs.
His name is Elon Musk. He saved free speech. He created so many different great things.
Elon Musk shifted his weight from one foot to the other.
SpaceX founder Elon Musk called the event an incredible milestone in the history of space.
His eyes flickering between the digital display board and the boarding gate ahead. Flight 827 to Austin was on time, a rare gift on a day already packed with stress. Adjusting the strap of his plain black backpack, he felt its weight dig into his shoulder. Today wasn't a day for drawing attention. He wasn't in the mood for stares, whispers, or endless selfie requests. To avoid the spotlight, he had chosen an outfit as unassuming as possible. A plain hoodie, worn jeans, and sneakers that had seen better days. Even billionaires needed moments to slip under the radar. The first-class line was shorter than expected, giving Elon a sliver of hope for a quick and uneventful boarding process. He had emails to read and a presentation to prepare for his SpaceX team. In just a few hours, he would also be attending a charity event supporting STEM education for underprivileged children.
Just over $5.7 billion is the value of Tesla shares donated to charity last year by boss Elon Musk. It's not known which organization received the largesse, but it may not have been an act of pure generosity.
A cause close to his heart. The thought of inspiring the next generation of inventors and scientists brought a faint smile to his face, hidden under the shadow of his hood. But that fleeting moment of peace was shattered. "Excuse me." A sharp voice cut through the hum of the airport terminal. Elon glanced up slowly, his expression neutral. A woman was striding toward him, her heels clicking against the polished floor with authority. She looked to be in her late 40s, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit that screamed designer brand. Her posture radiated confidence, and her sharp gaze fixed on Elon like a laser. "Are you lost?" she asked, her tone clipped and direct. Elon said nothing at first, his calm demeanor masking his growing irritation. She gave him a quick once-over, her eyes lingering on his casual outfit. "This is the first-class line," she continued, her voice dripping with condescension. "You don't look like you belong here." Elon blinked, surprised by her boldness. He wasn't here to argue or cause a scene, but he could sense this wasn't going to be resolved quickly. For a moment, he debated whether it was even worth engaging. "I have a first-class ticket," he said evenly, pulling his hood back slightly to make his voice clearer. His calm response was meant to diffuse the situation, but it only seemed to embolden her. She let out a sharp, dismissive laugh. "Sure you do," she said, crossing her arms. "The economy line is over there." She gestured toward the far side of the boarding area, her movements exaggerated and condescending. Elon tilted his head slightly, his patience wearing thin. "Ma'am," he began, his voice calm but firm, "I promise you, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Her irritation boiled over. "Don't lie to me!" she snapped, her voice loud enough to draw the attention of nearby passengers. The murmurs started. Heads turned as the commotion escalated. Elon could feel the weight of their stares, some curious, others judgmental, and a few simply entertained by the drama unfolding before them. "People like you," she continued, her voice rising, "always try to sneak into places you don't belong. It's not fair to the rest of us who actually paid for our tickets." Elon sighed inwardly, his patience stretched to its limit. Keeping his voice steady, he said, "I assure you I paid for my ticket, just like everyone else here." Her posture stiffened. "If you don't move, I'll call security," she threatened, her tone laced with righteous indignation. Before Elon could respond, she waved down a security officer with exaggerated urgency. "Officer!" she called out, her voice cutting through the terminal noise. "This man is trying to sneak into the first-class line without a proper ticket." The officer, a stocky man with a neatly pressed uniform, approached the scene cautiously. His eyes darted between the woman's flushed face and Elon's calm, composed expression. "Sir," the officer said, addressing Elon with a neutral tone, "do you have your ticket?" Without a word, Elon reached into his backpack and retrieved a neatly folded piece of paper. He handed it to the officer, who unfolded it and examined the details carefully. The officer's eyebrows lifted slightly. "This is a first-class ticket," he said, turning back to the woman. Her confidence wavered, her face twisting in disbelief. That can't be right, she stammered, her voice faltering. Are you sure? The officer nodded, his stance firm. Yes, ma'am. This ticket is valid. A ripple of murmurs swept through the crowd, the tension shifting as passengers leaned in to get a better view of the man at the center of the scene. The woman's face reddened, her earlier bravado fading. She opened her mouth to protest, but the words died on her lips as Elon adjusted his backpack and met her gaze directly. A lesson in judgment. Elon adjusted the strap of his backpack and looked directly at the woman, his calm yet authoritative demeanor unchanged. Judging someone by how they look, he began, his voice steady and firm, says more about you than it does about the person you're judging. The murmurs in the crowd grew louder. Passengers craned their necks to see the unfolding drama. Some whispered among themselves, while others discreetly pulled out their phones, capturing the moment on video. The woman's face flushed red, her embarrassment evident as the weight of Elon's words settled in. I didn't mean, she began, her voice shaky, but Elon raised his hand slightly to stop her. He didn't interrupt with malice, but with a clarity that left no room for excuses. You did mean it, Elon said, his gaze unwavering. And I'm sure you've done it before, to people who couldn't defend themselves. But today you picked the wrong person. His words hung in the air, the quiet authority in his tone silencing even the faintest whispers from the onlookers. The woman's shoulders slumped as her earlier confidence crumbled into regret. She cast a desperate glance at the security officer, but his expression remained neutral, offering her no support. Ma'am, the officer said finally, his voice polite but resolute. I think it's best if you step out of the line. We need to keep things moving. Her mouth opened as if to protest, but no words came out. Instead, she turned and shuffled away, her head bowed. The crowd parted to let her through, their eyes following her retreat. A few chuckles rippled through the group, accompanied by a smattering of soft applause. Elon turned back to the officer and gave him a simple nod. Thank you for handling that, he said, retrieving his ticket. The officer nodded in return, his tone respectful now. No problem, sir. Have a safe flight. As Elon stepped forward to hand his boarding pass to the gate agent, the woman behind him in line leaned in slightly. That was impressive, she said softly, her voice tinged with admiration. You kept your cool. Elon smiled faintly, his expression thoughtful. Sometimes all you can do is stay calm, he replied, but it's important to remind people that their actions have consequences. The gate agent scanned his ticket, and with a soft beep, he was cleared to board. Without a backward glance, Elon walked toward the jet bridge, leaving behind a silence that carried more weight than any argument ever could. Reflections at 30,000 feet. Once aboard, Elon settled into his first-class seat, exhaling deeply as the tension from the confrontation began to fade. Around him, the cabin was peaceful, filled only with the soft rustle of passengers arranging their belongings and the occasional snippet of polite conversation. He glanced out the window, watching the flurry of activity on the tarmac below as the plane prepared for takeoff. His thoughts drifted back to the scene at the gate. It wasn't the first time he had encountered such assumptions, and he knew it wouldn't be the last. Still, the memory left a bitter taste, a reminder of how often people's biases dictated their actions. As the engines roared to life and the plane began its ascent, Elon leaned back in his seat, letting the steady hum of the cabin wash over him. A flight attendant approached with a warm smile, offering him a drink. He declined with a polite nod, instead pulling out his tablet. He opened a blank document, his mind already working to turn the incident into something meaningful. Perhaps a donation to an organization focused on tolerance and education.
$100 million donation from Elon Musk is backing plans for a new primary and secondary school and ultimately a university in Austin.
Or a meeting with his Tesla team to discuss new initiatives for promoting inclusivity. Elon believed that every challenge, no matter how small, could be an opportunity to create change. As he typed, a movement caught his eye. From across the aisle, a young boy peeked over the top of his seat, his wide eyes fixed on Elon. The boy's father leaned in, whispering something, and the child's face lit up with excitement. "That's Elon Musk," the man said softly, his voice just loud enough to carry. The boy grinned shyly and gave a small wave. Elon returned the gesture with a kind smile, his thoughts shifting. For a moment, he imagined what the world might look like if more people carried that same sense of curiosity and openness instead of jumping to conclusions. As the boy ducked back into his seat, Elon returned to his tablet, jotting down a few more thoughts. It wasn't enough to reflect on the encounter. He wanted to act. Change didn't happen through passive observations. It required persistence and purpose. Hours later, the plane touched down in Austin. The city's vibrant energy greeted Elon as he stepped off the aircraft, but his focus was already on the next task. His SpaceX team awaited him with updates, schedules, and questions, but the highlight of his day lay elsewhere: the charity event for STEM education. Walking into the venue, Elon was met with the excited buzz of children exploring interactive exhibits he had helped fund. Rows of displays showcased hands-on science experiments, engineering challenges, and coding tutorials, each designed to ignite curiosity and inspire young minds. Elon paused near a table where a group of kids was building small rockets. One boy looked up, a mix of awe and nervousness on his face. "Is it true you built rockets when you were a kid?" the boy asked, clutching a half-assembled model in his hands. Elon crouched down to meet the boy's eyes, his smile warm and genuine. "Not exactly," he said with a chuckle. "But I started learning how things worked when I was your age. You know, I failed a lot, but I never stopped trying." The boy's face lit up, and he returned to his project with renewed enthusiasm. Elon watched him for a moment, feeling a rare sense of peace. These moments were why he worked so hard, not for recognition, but for the chance to make a lasting impact. Later, as he signed autographs for the kids and chatted with their parents about the importance of STEM education, the earlier confrontation at the airport surfaced in his mind. He realized that the best way to challenge ignorance wasn't through anger or confrontation, it was through example. By staying calm and standing firm, he hadn't just defended himself, he had shown those around him that respect and dignity could silence even the loudest prejudice, turning confrontation into inspiration. As the STEM event continued, Elon found himself surrounded by a crowd of eager children and their equally excited parents. For a moment, the noise and energy of the venue melted away as he observed the kids interacting with the exhibits. They were deeply engaged, their faces lighting up with every new discovery. It was a stark contrast to the confrontation earlier in the day, and it reminded him of why he cared so much about initiatives like this one. He paused to watch a group of young girls assembling a model of a solar-powered car. They giggled and whispered to each other, their enthusiasm infectious. One of them noticed Elon and hesitated, clearly nervous about speaking to him. With a gentle smile, he approached them. "That looks like a solid design," he said, crouching down to their level. "What's your plan for making it go faster?" The girls exchanged glances, their initial shyness giving way to excitement as they began explaining their ideas. One of them pointed to a small motor they had attached. "We think this will help, but we're not sure if the solar panel is strong enough," she admitted. Elon nodded thoughtfully. "It's a good start," he said. "But here's a tip. Sometimes it's not just about power. The shape of the car matters too. Try adjusting the angles to make it more aerodynamic." The girls listened intently, their eyes wide with determination. They immediately began tweaking their design, and Elon moved on, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. Moments like these were the reason he believed so strongly in hands-on education. It wasn't just about teaching concepts. It was about igniting a lifelong passion for learning. Despite the joy of the event, Elon couldn't completely shake the earlier confrontation. The woman's harsh words lingered in his mind, not because they were new to him, but because they served as a reminder of how often people let their biases cloud their judgment. As he mingled with parents, answering their questions about the importance of STEM education.
STEM education, huge priority. Homegrown, we've got to have our kids in math and science, and it can't just be a handful of kids. It's got to be everybody.
He reflected on how easily that encounter could have gone unnoticed. What if he hadn't been who he was? What if he had been someone without the resources or confidence to stand their ground? It wasn't the first time he'd faced prejudice, and he knew it wouldn't be the last. But he also knew that every such moment was an opportunity, to not only stand up for himself, but to set an example for others. As the event continued, Elon made a mental note to revisit the idea of funding more programs aimed at promoting tolerance and understanding. He had always believed that education was the key to breaking down barriers, and he was determined to do his part in making that belief a reality. Toward the end of the event, Elon noticed a familiar face in the crowd. The boy from the plane was standing with his parents, clutching a small booklet filled with signatures from other participants. The boy's eyes lit up when he saw Elon, and he waved enthusiastically. This time, Elon didn't hesitate. He walked over and crouched down to meet the boy at eye level. "I remember you," he said, his voice warm. "Did you enjoy the event?" The boy nodded vigorously. "It was amazing. I saw robots and rockets and even a 3D printer." Elon chuckled. "Sounds like you had a great time." The boy hesitated for a moment, then blurted out, "I want to be an inventor like you." Elon's smile widened. "That's a fantastic goal," he said. "Do you know what's the most important thing an inventor needs?" The boy shook his head, his curiosity evident. "Imagination," Elon said. "It's more important than money or tools. If you can dream it, you can figure out how to build it." The boy's father, who had been quietly watching the exchange, stepped forward. "Thank you for taking the time to talk to him," he said sincerely. "It means a lot." Elon nodded. "Kids like him are the future. They just need to know that anything is possible if they work for it." As Elon walked away, his thoughts shifted back to the bigger picture. The encounter with the boy had been uplifting, but it also highlighted a stark contrast to the earlier part of his day. The prejudice he'd faced at the airport wasn't just a personal experience, it was a reflection of the broader challenges society faced. He thought about the millions of people who dealt with similar assumptions every day, often without the ability to push back or prove themselves. It wasn't enough to simply stand up for himself. He wanted to create a world where fewer people had to face those challenges in the first place. Elon pulled out his tablet and began jotting down ideas. He thought about expanding his STEM programs to include workshops on critical thinking and bias awareness. If people learned to approach situations with curiosity instead of judgment, the world could be a much kinder place. As the event wound down, Elon took a moment to reflect on the day. It had started with a confrontation, a reminder of how quickly people could judge based on appearances, but it had ended with hope, a clear vision of what could be achieved when people were given the tools and encouragement to dream. The woman at the airport had tried to reduce him to an assumption, but her actions had ultimately inspired him to think bigger. Change didn't come from anger or confrontation. It came from persistence, education, and leading by example. Walking toward the exit, Elon felt a sense of peace. The day had reaffirmed his belief in the power of patience and purpose. He couldn't change everyone's perspective, but he could keep planting the seeds of understanding one moment at a time. The sun dipped low on the Austin horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink as Elon Musk stepped out of the STEM charity event. The air was cooler now, and the bustling sounds of the city greeted him as he made his way toward the waiting car. Yet his mind was still with the children and families he had spoken to that day. Their energy, curiosity, and determination had left an impression on him, serving as a stark contrast to the prejudice he had faced earlier at the airport. Sliding into the back seat of the car, Elon glanced at his tablet, still open to the notes he had made during the flight. Ideas swirled in his mind, plans for expanding STEM outreach programs, ways to incorporate inclusivity initiatives into Tesla and SpaceX, and strategies to support organizations promoting tolerance. But his thoughts kept circling back to one central theme: the importance of leading by example. The confrontation with Karen wasn't just an isolated incident. It was a reflection of deeper societal challenges. While Elon had been able to stand his ground and move past the incident, not everyone had the same privilege. Countless people face similar biases daily, often without the means to push back. He couldn't change every mindset, but he could influence the conversation. Elon opened an email draft and began typing, addressing his team at the Musk Foundation. The focus: creating a new initiative aimed at breaking down societal biases through education and awareness. He envisioned workshops, resources, and programs that didn't just teach STEM, but also encouraged empathy, critical thinking, and understanding. He knew it was ambitious, but ambition was something he never shied away from. As the car made its way through Austin, Elon's driver slowed down near a small park. Families were scattered across the open green space, enjoying the cool evening. Elon noticed a familiar figure standing near a bench, the young boy from the plane and the STEM event, now holding his father's hand. Elon asked the driver to stop, deciding to step out and greet the boy one more time. As he approached, the boy's face lit up with the same wide-eyed excitement he had seen earlier. "Hi again," Elon said warmly, crouching down to meet the boy at eye level. "You're still out and about, huh?" The boy nodded enthusiastically, holding up a small notebook filled with scribbled diagrams. "I started drawing my invention ideas," he said proudly. Elon smiled. "Let's see." The boy flipped through the pages, showing crude sketches of machines and gadgets. One drawing caught Elon's attention. It looked like a hybrid between a rocket and a car. "This is interesting," Elon said, pointing to the sketch. "What's your plan for this one?" The boy grinned. "It's a car that can go to space. I haven't figured out how yet, but I'll make it work one day." Elon chuckled softly, appreciating the boy's unbridled imagination. "Keep drawing and thinking like this," he said. "The most important thing is to never stop asking what if. That's how you'll figure it out." The boy nodded seriously, and his father stepped forward, gratitude evident in his expression. "Thank you," the man said quietly. "You've really made an impact on him today." Elon shook his hand. "Kids like him are the reason I do what I do," he replied. "He has the curiosity and drive to do great things. Just keep encouraging him." As Elon returned to the car, he glanced back one last time to see the boy already sketching something new in his notebook. The sight filled him with a sense of hope, a reminder that change often started with the youngest minds. Later that evening, Elon sat in his hotel room, the quiet hum of the city filtering through the windows. He replayed the events of the day in his mind. The confrontation at the airport, the STEM event, the conversations with children and parents, and the encounter at the park. Each moment had reinforced a simple but powerful truth. The world needed more patience, understanding, and curiosity. He opened his laptop and began drafting a blog post, something he hadn't done in a while. The title came easily, Judging a Book by Its Cover, a reflection on assumptions and empathy. In the post, he recounted the airport incident without naming names, framing it as a broader commentary on the dangers of jumping to conclusions. He emphasized the importance of leading with curiosity instead of judgment, sharing how his own experiences had shaped his perspective. "Elon Musk isn't a name or a title," he wrote. "It's just one part of who I am. But every day I'm reminded that the way people see me isn't always the way I see myself. The hoodie, the sneakers, the jeans, they shouldn't define anyone, yet they often do. We all need to challenge those snap judgments, not just for ourselves, but for the people who don't have the opportunity to push back." As he wrote, his thoughts turned to Karen. He didn't harbor resentment toward her. In fact, he felt a twinge of sadness. Her reaction hadn't come from a place of malice. It had come from a place of ignorance, shaped by societal norms and biases. If anything, the encounter had only strengthened his resolve to keep doing the work that mattered most, creating opportunities for people to learn, grow, and imagine a better world. The power of a small moment. The next morning, Elon received an email from his assistant. Attached was a link to a trending video. Someone had recorded the airport confrontation and posted it online. It was already gaining traction, with thousands of comments praising Elon's calm demeanor and the way he had handled the situation. Elon sighed, knowing the attention was inevitable, but as he scrolled through the comments, one stood out. "This reminds me of a time someone made an assumption about me. I didn't have the confidence to stand up for myself, but seeing this gives me hope that I can next time." Elon paused, rereading the comment. It was a small note, but it carried weight. It reminded him that even the smallest moments could ripple outward, touching lives in ways he might never fully understand. Closing the laptop, he stood and stretched, ready to tackle the day ahead. The confrontation at the airport was already behind him, but the lessons it had sparked would stay with him. For Elon, every experience, whether uplifting or challenging, was an opportunity to build something meaningful, and as the day began, he felt more determined than ever to keep inspiring change, one moment at a time.